Okay. Hi guys, Mia Bontan,
I'm Ramona Jimenez.
and this is our podcast, Friends Therapy. And today we're going to talk about our stories as women of color in college.
Yeah.
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 And Ramona's going to start us off with some of her experiences.
Okay, yeah. So, to be honest, I've always been a woman of color, of course, but, I never really never had to experience a woman of color until coming to college. Because, where I'm from in California, I never had to think about it like that. It was just, where I came from was from a very diverse area. And I remember back in high school, I was in bio class, and my science teacher was like, this is a very diverse area. Because she's like, look around, this is very diverse. And I remember looking behind me, I'm like, this seems normal to me. I don't know. And just here, I can definitely see a difference. And, it has taken a toll on me mentally at times, because I feel at times I'm an outsider compared to others.
Yeah.
It's just I don't. It's sometimes it's even to a point where I don't feel too welcome. It's I'm here living my life, but not completely welcome.
Yeah. Every time I exit our apartment, it's people are staring at me or staring at you, and it's strange because we're both from very diverse areas, and I've never had that feeling that people were staring at me like that. And especially in stores, where back home I would just walk around and nobody would follow me as much. But I've noticed that since living here, people will follow me around stores more to see if I'm gonna do some risky business, steal or something.
Yeah, it's you are always being watched here. It's not we're free in a point.
It feels like they're observing us to see if we're gonna make a mistake somehow.
Yeah. Even just walking around, I remember even last year, I would go on my random walks, and, I'll see, people, staring me down. And I notice them, I know you're looking at me. But, this one lady, she, rolled down her window, she's like, I love your hair. And it was because of how curly my hair was, but I was like, thanks. But I'm even if it's a positive or negative thing, it's we're always being watched.
Yeah, and that's such a weird thing to just yell at someone from your car.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was
that's such a weird thing. Yeah. And it was nice, but
yeah.
That was,
yeah. They were obviously staring at me at the stoplight. It was this lady and her daughter. Just they kept staring at me. I see them staring at me. I'm like, you got a problem? What?
Yeah, and then it's just, and I don't know if this is the same experience for you, but since getting here, a lot of people have said I'm the first Filipino person they've met or that we're friends with, and it's weird because they don't know anything about my culture or anything about it.
Yeah.
And I remember just being back home and just always being able to see a Filipino person around the street.
Yeah.
And here it's just I have to actively look for them, going to an Asian Student Union meeting or having to walk around and try to find them. It's just, it's weird.
It's you don't realize you're out of your comfort zone. You don't realize your comfort zone until you're out of it. it's like
Yeah.
you're so used to seeing all the diversity where we're from, and then when we're thrown into a place where it's less diverse from where we are, you can definitely see a difference. And at least for me, it does take a toll on me, just because it's like how things are here are completely different back home. We're like,
yeah, and like for back home, for the first like 18 years of my life, no one has ever like catcalled me or anything, which is surprising because I'm not from like a good area. And then here, like first month, I got catcalled like twice, and it was so I didn't know how to respond because they're both like from cars. Or like they'll honk at me and they yelled at something. I don't know what they said, but like it was so weird. And like the person I was with, he didn't say anything about it. In fact, he has like he said like, oh, it's because you're wearing a short skirt and tank top right now. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll put it back on. Like he didn't like try to defend me or anything. He kind of just accepted it at that point. And it was,
and that's the sad thing, is like we have to accept it, because like even just like last week at our tournament, this guy, like we just weighed in, we're hungry, and like so we're starting to eat, and this guy just walks up to us and is like, I forgot what he said, but like,
for context, we are both on the wrestling team, and last weekend we went to Spokane for a wrestling tournament. And then I think we were all eating, and that guy said, oh, you guys must like cut a lot or something like that.
Yeah. And like it was all females, like, where he talked to. It was like not even one male was with us.
We didn't know him at all. And he just came up to us and decided that he was going to try to start a conversation with us, and it was quite obvious that we were all not willing to do that.
Yeah. Even our female coach, after he left, she was like, that's weird. She's like, even if a woman did that, they would be like, oh, why are you talking to us? But she even pointed out, it's like, we have to acknowledge that they talk to us. Yeah.
And whenever we don't, we're always, oh, she's on her period, or she's just a bitch.
Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy, like, that, when she said that, I was like, okay, this is not just, like, us things, like, it's like we always have to, like, make a comment whenever someone else does something to us. We're like, oh, okay, yeah.
We always have to put, like, a mask on. It's, like, our customer service
voices
and faces. We have to put a smile on, and we'll be like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And then we just, because if we don't, sometimes we'll get hate crimed.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And, like, or, like, it's crazy here, because, like, I never experienced, like, I worked back home for a couple months during pandemic, and, like, I never had, like, issues there where I do here with people making, like, side comments about my race. And it legit, I did cry at work, like, twice, because people were mean, and, like, I was like, okay, thanks. Like, one person got very, like, she is a woman, and she was being really picky about things already, and she had jicama on the belt. And if you do not know, at Safeway, whenever a produce doesn't have, like, a sticker on it, we have to, like, either know the number or look it up by photo. And she had jicama. There's another thing that looks exactly like jicama. So I was making sure, and I asked her, oh, what is this? And she was like, jicama. You should know this. And I was like, yeah, I was just making sure. And I thought it was just, like, nothing. Like, oh, you're old enough. You should know this type of thing. No, then she's like, aren't you a Latino descent? Or, like, aren't you Mexican? I was like, yes. And she's like, yeah, you should definitely know this then. I was like, no, actually, I didn't know jicama because I'm Mexican. It's because my school put it in the salad bar and they had to tell us about it.
Mm.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I hate side comments like that. Or like, you know, when have you had that experience where like people will like compare you to a different like Hispanic lady that they know, like just a random person that you don't know, and you're like, oh, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
I get that a lot with other Asian girls, and it's getting annoying now.
Yeah.
Because I'll see them, and I'll feel like, that's not me. That's
completely
not me.
different.
That's not me at all.
Yeah.
Like, because it'll be like, oh, she's a full head taller than me. And, like, or, like, it'll be like, oh, we have completely different hair colors right now.
Yeah.
Or, like, something, it will be, like, something, like, completely, like, different. Like, or just, like, our faces are just completely different. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, no, it's like people, it's like, you can tell they're just trying to be nice, but really, they're not. When they make those comments to us, it's like, actually, it does hurt us. Like,
yeah, it's like, and they never say that to, like, any, like, Asian boys here. It's always, like, just the girls that they're like, oh, you look like this Asian girl I know.
Yeah.
And, like, which is crazy, because, like, Asian girls look so different, like, from what I've seen, and then, like, Asian boys, they all have perms, and, like,
yes,
all of them are getting perms now, and, like,
okay, that's the one thing, like, even other girls say this, and maybe it's a girls thing, but, like, guys look a lot alike, because I remember some of the girls on our team said all the guys look the same.
Yeah, they all got mullets.
Or, like, it's just, like, the hairstyle is the same. Which is crazy. Like, girls, we technically have, like, usually we have the same length or something, but ours is different.
Yeah. Like,
curly, straight, wavy.
Yeah, different hair colors completely.
Yeah.
And, like, different facial structures.
Yeah.
And it's just... And we actually, like, take the time to, like, make ourselves look different, too, from other people. Like, some girls will, like, put, like, makeup on, or, like, they'll dye their hair, and I would still get compared to somebody else because of, like, just because we're both Asian.
Yeah. It's, like, you know, what's crazy, okay, I know I talked to you about this before, it's just, like, when they try and guess your ethnicity, and, like, what you are. I've had people ever guess what you are.
Yeah, people say I'm Chinese, and I'm not. Or, like, they'll be like, oh, Ian, are you Japanese? And I'm like, no.
I feel like those people are very not...
well-versed.
Yeah. They're very, like, closed off on that. Because, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like there's... You can tell there's a difference from you compared to a Chinese person.
Yeah, like facial structure wise,
yeah.
There's like no way.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's like, so people make a lot of assumptions of what we are, and it's like, one, completely off half the time, or like they're very like they don't know other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they assume one group with one type.
Yeah, and like... It's so frustrating.
It is.
Like, because you can't, like, tell them to like, stop.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, oh, why are you offended?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I be offended?
Exactly. Like, it legit, like, it really hurts whenever, like, people make those side comments. It's like, it really hurts me. Like, I remember I told my mom, and she's like, I'm sorry, because my mom is white passing, and she knows it, and she's like, I'm sorry that you have to, like, go through that, like, yeah. And, like, I told my nana, and she's like, yeah, like, she, like, got, like, sad because I started crying to her, too. I was, like, I told her about, like, some of the other comments people have made towards me, and, like, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, but you gotta, like, fight through. You can't let that bother you. And, like, I know she's just trying to help, but that's the one thing it's, like, our, like, parents and grandparents, they had, like, knowing that they had to go through that, and just, like, all they know is they have to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, that's what we have to do here.
Always take the high road.
Yeah.
And it's, like, well, why do we have to take the high road when they are allowed to go as low as possible?
Yeah. It's, like, going back to when we had to, like, at the tournament, when we had to, like, make a comment to the guys, like, we have to take the high road.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're gonna look like a bitch. Or we look like an a-hole.
And, like, men, they don't have to do that ever. Like, they could be mean all they want, and then and then women or, like, other people would make excuses like, oh, he's just hungry. Like, he's just a little hangry right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my dad does. And then it's so frustrating because, like, why are you allowed to be mad right now? And then if I get mad, it's like I'm hysteric. Like, I'm a hysteric woman, and I need to stop.
Or they make a comment like, oh, she must be on her period, or... Honestly, I get that a lot. It's like, whenever I'm moody, even my siblings, they're like, oh, she must be on her period. It's like, no. You just piss me off.
I hate how that's so ingrained. Like, that's not the only reason. Like, you are acting... Like, a person would be so mean, and you'll say one thing back, and they're like, oh, so you're a bitch. Like,
yeah.
I've had that happen so many times first being here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, someone would say something completely, like, out of pocket, and I'll be like, hey, you probably shouldn't say that. Like, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then their whole, like, perception of me will change. Like, they'll be like, oh, Mia's not the nice little girl anymore. She's so mean now.
Mm-hmm.
Why? That's just me standing up for myself. And if I am just deemed evil for standing up to myself, then what's the point of doing anything?
Yeah. Like, honestly, yeah, I remember there's times that we were hanging out with people, and, like, I just sit there and just, like, let them say, because I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, and then you stand up, and it's like, you can definitely see them switch. I'm like, dude,
yeah, they'll definitely switch, and then they would prefer you more because you didn't say anything.
I just sat there. I'm like, okay, yeah,
and then that person who did that, he literally said, well, you always get mad whenever I talk. And Ramona never talks, and you never get mad at her. So it seems like you're just mad at me for talking. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't... If you say something mean and I get mad, it's not... And I only get mad when someone says something mean or, like, completely, like, out of pocket. And then I'll be like, hey, that's wrong, or, like, that's mean. And then... If you say that a lot and it seems like I'm mad at you all the time, maybe you're doing something wrong. And then it's just, and, like, whenever I meet people, there's always, like, this, like, preconceived notion that, like, I won't stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Or, like, I'm just gonna be meek and never, like, do anything about it. Like, I know I'm a pretty quiet person. And, like, I take a little bit to warm up to people. But that's so weird that people would think that.
No, it's funny because, like, a lot of people will be like, they'll say, like, oh, Mia, so innocent. And I just, like, giggle because I'm like, oh, if only they, like, because, like, they have, like, this image of you being, like, a pure angel. Like, you're a good
just
person.
Like a little kid. Like, I'm just a little kid to people.
Yeah, but really, I'm like, no, like, she's a daredevil at times. Like, I'm like, she wants to go out and party. Like,
I'm wild.
yeah, you're a wild child. And, like, it's funny because I'm like, they see you as this woman, but I'm like, I know her as this. So I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it's crazy that you guys
and
see that.
Yeah, and because people think that I'm like a little kid, they'll just they'll talk to me like I'm a little kid. They'll be like, "Oh, Mia," and I'm like, "What is this? When did this become a thing? Why are you talking to me like I just did like a little oopsie?
Yeah.
Like, am I 4 now?
Oh no!
Like I'm literally like a legal adult now. I could. What?
Yeah, it's like, it's funny to see that sometimes. I'm like, okay, wait. Because then I'll like be like, oh no, me's and this and this, and they're like, what, Mia? I'm like, and then I remember someone's like, because, I was telling them about what you like to pull pranks at times, and like, I told some of our friends about your pranks, and they're like, oh my god, Mia's so sneaky, like, she could be a part of the Asian mafia, like, oh god. And I was like,
yeah, I'm a little prankster.
yeah. Like,
I like how it's the Asian mafia, not just the regular mafia. You think I'm not qualified for that one?
Well, I think it's because the mafia is more Italian.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, because the cartels, what? Is it?
I think it's better they said the Asian mafia and not the Yakuza. Because, if they said Yakuza, like, cool that you know what the Yakuza is, but, like, I'm not Japanese.
I was gonna say, like, I've just started to learn about them. And, like, their crazy stuff.
Yeah, they're losing numbers.
Are they?
Yeah, because no one wants to join.
Don't they, like, have to, like, cut a piece of the pinky off or something? Or is that,
like, I don't know if, like, they have to, but they do get their fingers cut, and they gotta get tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like... Oh, you know what's weird? I'll tell some... I'm an Asian woman, and then I'll tell someone, like, oh, yeah, like, I like anime, and then they'll, like, ask me a bunch of questions about Japan, and then if I don't know an answer, they'll be like, oh, well, I thought you knew everything about Japan. All I said was I like anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I said.
It's like, what people do is, like, when they think, it's like they assume that you know this one whole topic automatically. It's like, no.
Yeah, or, like, I'll be like, yeah, I kind of know a lot about, like, some Asian cultures. Not, like, a lot, but, like, I know a good amount of things. Because, like, I've grown up around those people, like, those cultures. And then they'll ask me something, and then I'll be like, I don't really know. Maybe I should look it up. And they're like, oh, I thought you knew everything.
Yeah.
That dog, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I literally said I don't.
Yeah, people do that with me with, like, Mexican foods or even Spanish. Like, most people assume I know Spanish. I'm like, my parents didn't teach me Spanish. Like, they don't know Spanish themselves. I'm like, people like to assume that we know a lot about culture.
Yeah, like,
I'm like, no.
I know, like, a amount. Like, it's not like I don't know anything, but, like, yeah, and, like, I don't know how to speak Tagalog either.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will be so confused, and they'll be like, oh, you're not, like, fully Filipino then because you don't know Tagalog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, there's multiple dialects, and my mom can't speak Tagalog because when she came over from the Philippines, she never, like, forgot how to do it because my grandma on that side, she didn't think that she needed it because we're in America, we speak English.
Yeah.
And, like, I wish she didn't have that mindset, but it's whatever. Like, it's too late now.
Yeah.
And my dad, he speaks Visayan. And he didn't teach us how to speak Visayan either. And if I were to know a language, it'd be Visayan. And, like, but everybody just thinks Tagalog.
Yeah. That's, like, with the language, my parents, they didn't know their language like, they didn't learn Spanish because of my grandparents, and I just learned out why. It was because both my mom and dad parents kind of had the same thing, was like kind of where they were. For my dad, his mom, she was born here in America, but her first language was Spanish, and she didn't learn English until she went to school. And she's like, she didn't want my dad to go through how hard it was to learn English after he learned Spanish, because she's like, yeah, no, kids were making fun of me all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, because it was hard for her to get English. And then same thing with my mom, it was more status, because like she told me, she's like, it's kind of more welcomed down in Southern California to speak Spanish, since it is closer to the Mexican border. But like, she was born and raised in the Bay Area, and it's kind of looked, when she grew up, it was more looked down upon to speak Spanish, and so her parents didn't teach them that because of that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. And I'm like, damn, we lost a part of our culture because of society.
Yeah, because society looks down on us. Like, us brown folk.
Yeah, like, the language is like, honestly, like, why be ashamed of not speaking English? Like, technically, English is not the official language of America.
And like, everybody outside of America can speak like two.
At least two.
Like, at least one, but like, they could speak like, a lot of people can like speak two.
Yeah.
And more, and like three. And like, Trevor Noah, when he was growing up, I read his book, and then when he was growing up, he was able to speak like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of like African dialects.
Yeah. Maneskin, they know Italian and English. They actually was able to sing in English before they sang in Italian, but I'm like, they know both.
Yeah.
Technically,
and they're good at both.
Yeah. And I'm like, and what's the one thing is like, if you know Italian, French, or Spanish, you kind of know the other two language, because they're very similar in the way it speaks. So I'm like, if you know one of those languages, you technically know three more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but like, it's the one thing, it's like, we lose a part of our culture because like, in our past, our families were looked down upon, or like, there was a reason why they had to learn English, and like, they just moved it on.
Yeah, and like, gosh, it's so terrible that we do, like, we're not taught it, and then like, people who do, and like, people from like our like countries of origin, they'll like look down at us and like, oh, you're American.
Yeah, like, you're not one of us, almost. Like, it's like, we're in a disconnect where like, we don't feel accepted here in America, but we also don't feel accepted in our home, because like, our origin, our ancestries, because we don't know the culture like that.
Yeah, like, I visited before COVID. I got to go to the Philippines with my parents, and honestly, I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. And I was really sad about that, because I've always wanted to like go outside the country like that, and like, that was my opportunity. And like, my family members there, I had to stay with my family members for a majority of it. And it's just like such a huge cultural disconnect, like, especially because I'm a lady, like, I'm a woman. Like, I was doing things that a lot of them weren't able to, and then I remember my mom had a conversation with one of my like distant aunts. I don't really know our like relation. I just know that we're in our barrio and everybody like is related. And she was talking to my mom, and she was like, oh, who does the cooking and the cleaning? And my mom was like, oh, well, I let my husband do all that because he's home all the time, because my dad has a at-home job. And my mom is working in a hospital, and she was like, oh yeah, I just let him do it because I'm out working. And then my aunts were all, like, they turned to each other and they were like laughing at her. And like, my mom felt so like
ashamed.
Like, not it was like a little ashamed, but she was more like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with that? And, like, it was definitely a cultural difference
Mm-hmm.
in that way.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, Mom, they just don't know. Like,
they do.
Like, they're not used to our lifestyle, and we're not used to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like, one of those things where it's, like, yeah, we can't be, like, oh, women don't have to do all this stuff and, like, all this stuff. Because, it's, like, we can't, like, intrude on their lives like that.
Yeah.
You know?
What they were taught is, like, what they're taught.
We can't have, like, savior complexes and, like,
Yeah.
go in and be, like, this is not how women should be. And, like, yeah, we can't be like that. So we were just, like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna, like, kind of take it and, like, leave.
Yeah. Because it could cause more problems.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Same night. Crazy story. We're not, like, crazy, but, like, we're doing, like, a little basketball tournament thing. And, like, before they started playing, they had, like, the little girls of the barrio do, like, a fashion show walk.
What?
And I was watching it, and I was like, what the heck? And also, I was like, why was I not invited to do this?
Yeah.
No one told me I could do this.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I was, like, 1,000 times darker than everybody else. Like, skin color-wise, I think it was because of that. Because of the beauty standards back in the Philippines is to be, like, as pale as possible.
Yeah.
And I just did not fit that. And it was kind of, like, embarrassing walking around because I was like, dang, I'm really just ugly. And, like, it was like, dang, this is really how it is. And, like, even here, I feel ugly, too, because people don't, like... Well, first of all, people don't say it. And also, like, I feel like people, like, go out of their way to, like, avoid me. Because you know how sometimes when, like, you're not looking great and people, like, avoid you?
Yeah.
Like the plague?
Yeah.
I get that, like, way more than I did in high school. And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, people don't, like, pursue me at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like they did before, but, like, it's, like...
way different.
It's a lot different. Like, and if they do, they, like, fetishize me. And it's weird.
Dude. Honestly, like... You know how I dress. I dress very lazy. I dress sweatpants, sweatshirts, bun, crazy hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like that in high school. But I have noticed it's kind of the opposite for me, where, like, in high school no one really looked at me like that. But here I have seen people do it, but it's not even people our age. It's, like, people way older than us.
Yeah.
And it gets me weirded out.
It's, like, that also could be fetishization.
That's what I was thinking, too. I was
it's like they want, like, a younger woman that is, like, mature for age.
Yeah. And a lot of people... One thing with me, a lot of people have made the comment, because, like, a lot of people sometimes don't think I'm Mexican. They actually think I'm, like, Indian. Majority Indian, but, like, they think of me, or Pacific Islander, or other things.
I think it's just your bone structure.
That's legit. This one guy, my coworker, he's like, yeah, you have a very diverse, like, face structure. I'm like, oh. Like, I never got that stuff until I was here. Like, no one really said that. Like, in high school, some people thought I was Indian, but not a lot compared to here. Which was, I found that. I noticed that. I was like, wow.
Like, less people think that here, or
more people think.
More people,
yeah,
okay.
Like, more people, like, be like, are you Mexican, or are you, like, something? I'm like, I'm full Mexican, pretty much, and it, like, it's weird. I didn't think I had a diverse face, so, like.
Yeah.
But, like, I have noticed, it's just, like, sometimes people, like, I don't know, that's a weird... Sometimes, there's times when people talk to me, and, like, the way they talk to me, I'm like, it's almost like they're, like, standoffish. Like, they don't want to get close, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, like, honestly, I relate to you about, like, not looking like other people from your ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, mine is, like, a lot more subtle, I think. But it's, like, I have a lot, like, thicker hair than other people.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, people point that out, which is, like, why would you point that out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm all for, like, free the hair, like, free the nipple. But, like,
Yeah.
why would you, like, point out that, like, my arms are a little hairier than yours?
That's weird.
Yeah, people say that, or they're like, oh, you forgot to shave your legs. First of all, fuck off.
Yeah, like, why do we have to shave our legs all the time? The guys
Yeah.
don't.
And then,
What?
like, yeah, and, like, what I've heard so many times where it's like, you have a lot of hair for an Asian girl. Okay. What does that supposed to mean?
Yeah, like,
How else am I supposed to take that? Am I supposed to say thank you?
yeah, like,
That was mean. That was mean.
what did they ever think that was, like, some type
Yeah.
of a comment they should make? Like,
Yeah, and all, it's like, yeah, because, like, people, like, and also, like, I have, like, I have, like, freckles, and, like, I'm a little darker than
Mhm.
other Asian girls. Like, for a Filipino person, I look, like, pretty regular.
yeah.
like, Compared to, like, what is the most popular, which is, like, which is, like, the beauty standards, like, Korean, like, Japanese, Chinese, like,
those
like, those three, like, they're a lot more popular in media, and, like, they typically are a lot paler than Filipino people,
yeah.
and, like, it's, like, they think I'm, like, different, like, I'm a different Asian, like, and, like, the term that, like, like, a term that, like, would be used, like, oh, that's a jungle Asian.
I have heard about. I heard like
Yeah.
people like put Filipinos as under jungle, and I'm like,
Yeah, we're, like, jungle Asians. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we're from the jungle. Like, not there's, like, kind of jungly or Asian, but, like, kind of messed up that,
Yeah.
like, we're, like, oh, they're the beasts. And, like, those, and, like, paler Asians, like, they're, like, oh, the little the dolls, the beautiful dolls. And it's, like, I don't want to, like, compare, like, myself to other, like, ethnicities, and, like, I don't want to, like, bring anybody down, but it's, like, it's being a brown Asian girl is, like, hard.
yeah, because it's like the uncommon.
Yeah, like, it's uncommon, and where it's, like, not uncommon, but, like, where I'm from, there's a lot of Filipino people, but,
Yeah.
like, anywhere outside, like,
It's uncommon.
like, going to Ashland, people are like, oh, okay, I've met a Chinese person, and they'll see me and, like, what the heck is that?
Yeah,
What are you?
yeah. Honestly, yeah, because like where we're from, there's a large population of Filipinos.
Yeah.
And many other cultures, but like that's why I'm like it's normal to us.
Yeah, specifically Filipinos, honestly.
Yeah. Filipinos, Latino, but it's like a mix of everything that there's there. But
Yeah.
like, you know, that kind of reminds me. I was just thinking like the population. It's like even in Texas when we went to Texas a couple months ago, we were like sitting and we were watching. Like it's like mostly whites and blacks, and then like a couple Hispanics or Latinos, and then we saw like one Asian family.
Yeah, literally one.
Yeah, the whole
Out of a
report.
sea of, like, white people.
White and
it's,
black
like,
mix, and it was just like
nobody in between.
yeah,
Like
it was very
did we
rare.
even see any, like, actually, no, we saw Hispanic
We saw like
families,
a couple. Couple. That's why I'm like it was like here and there, but like there was like one Asian family.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is like I never had to do that anywhere when I was before coming to Ashland, but like ever since college is like that's all I'm like wow. I remember actually in my art class I was sitting there one day and I was looking around, I was like I'm the only colored person in this class.
That's how I feel about a couple of my classes, too.
Yeah, I'm just like okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It's just, it's almost off-putting sometimes because you're just like
Yeah. And do you ever have those conversations in class where you're talking about black people and then their struggles, and then they'll talk about like people of color struggles, and then like do you get that like some people would think that like, oh, you don't really get that because you're a little less brown?
No,
Like,
just because I don't talk to anyone in my class.
Oh, it's true.
Legit, in my bio lab, I'm all on my own. I'm sitting on by myself.
Yeah, because I'll talk to some people and they'll be like, yeah, I've been called like a chink before, or like a bunch of other like Asian slurs, like just in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be like, oh, I didn't know there's like slurs for Asian people. And like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, thanks.
That's
Like-
the one thing I think with society is like when they have one assumption, that's all there is. Like,
Yeah. Asian people in the background.
yeah.
We're sprinkled in. We're not really sprinkled. We're just one person plopped,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh, that's diversity.
Yeah, honestly. Like,
Yeah. And like they do the same thing with Hispanic people or like Latino people, and then but yours is like, oh, this, or like in like Hollywood they'll be like, oh, we're putting a Mexican person in this, and this person's gonna be a drug dealer.
yeah.
Heck no, what is that?
Yeah. Or they have to come from like a hard life. Like big
Yeah.
family, low income, lives in like a 1-bedroom house, and it's like,
Constant financial struggles.
yeah.
And they're like, and like their struggle is like, oh, I'm smart, I can make it out of here, but it's hard. And it's like, okay, well, we've seen that before. What about like
More.
yeah, what about the people who like aren't like smart like that?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make other people feel more dumb,
Yeah.
you know?
The one thing that just reminded me is J-Lo. I just saw
What?
it just like, I feel like with J-Lo's movies, she kind of does that. She makes it like more like, she changes like the role of a Latino woman in that way, like for Hustlers.
Yeah.
Like I just saw a TikTok about like, it was just them talking about how like the color of their outfits
Yeah,
symbolizes.
the color theory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like with J-Lo's character, it was like she was empowered. Like she was like the pimp of the group. She was in charge. She was, you know, a leader. And that's the one thing I do like about J-Lo is like
Yeah.
her roles is about her taking charge.
Yeah.
Just want to make that side note.
You know, I think it's kind of funny about J-Lo.
Huh.
In a lot of her movies, she's not even playing like a woman of color in a lot of them. She's playing like she's kind of like an ambiguous character. Sometimes she's even playing like a white lady.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and it's like, whoa, really?
Yeah.
You're able to get away with that?
Exactly. Wasn't there one like it was like her got like a big nice job just out of nowhere, like because she like lied on the resume or something?
I don't remember which one that is.
It was like something. It was like something like that. I was like, wow. But what's crazy is that when she got her first start was on the movie Selena.
Oh yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, I loved it growing up. Did not know what it was when I was younger, but I loved it.
Yeah, I'm like,
She has grown a lot. Like I think she's one of the female actors of color that has changed the roles for like at least some Latinos.
yeah, I'm like,
Kind of open the
she's done a lot.
yeah. And like that's the one thing I feel like with Filipinos is like they don't get this limelight.
Yeah, we have Bruno Mars.
But
He's
not a lot of people know
he's,
that.
like, I think he's half Puerto Rican.
Yeah, he
And
is.
people, you know what's crazy? People think that he's black, and then people who are like, and then there's some people who are like, oh, he's black fishing, or like something like that, because he's like, oh, he doesn't have naturally curly hair because he's Asian. That's a lie.
Yeah, I'm about to say, isn't his hair natural?
Yeah, his hair is naturally curly. It just wasn't before, because first of all, it's like a lot shorter before.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to take care of curly hair before, so he would straighten it. He would relax it.
Yeah.
And honestly, he is so he's a prime example of like a Filipino guy who can sing.
Yeah.
If like singing is a very big part of Filipino culture.
Oh, yes.
And singing is a very big part, and like dancing for some people. I can't do either of those things, unfortunately.
Isn't there a dance? It's like it starts
yeah.
with a T. Not to call it, but it's like a
The language.
no. It's like it's dance with a T. I think it might be a different culture though.
Are you talking about like stick dancing?
No. It's like with the hips.
Oh, Tahitian. That's not
Yeah.
Filipino, but
Oh.
like a lot of Filipino people do it.
I was gonna say like I feel like
Yeah, Tahitian.
yeah.
Yeah. But like yeah, it's a really big thing for like Filipinos to like sing and dance.
Mhm.
Or like it's mainly sing, but like he's just a
Seriously.
prime example of that. And like it's crazy to think that like people are like, oh, you're blackfishing, because I've grown up in like my cousins used to sing so much and like play instruments and like
Look like him. Almost.
like yeah, a lot of them are like they just look like him naturally. They don't even, some of them aren't even like Bruno Mars fans, and they just look like him, and they're like, oh well, whatever, he looks cool. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing is like sometimes hair is just genetically different, and it's just like
Yeah.
feel like my dad, he has curly hair where like he had an afro. Like, and he's full Mexican and everything, and so it's like that's where I get my curly hair. Is like if he grows his hair out right now, he would have an afro.
Dang, crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think your dad has really short hair, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever really, I haven't seen him that often.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine him with an afro. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
My Nana has a picture in her bedroom. It's a painting, a family portrait of with him in it. He was like probably like 11, 12 with his afro hair. Every time like she's like, yeah, that's your dad with his afro. I'm like, wow, it's crazy to think my dad had an afro, just
Yeah.
naturally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people don't realize like even with Mexicans, like a lot of people don't realize like there's a lot of whiter, like paler people, ginger, blue eye, blonde hair, like Mexicans, that full on Mexicans, not even half. Like
Yeah.
the boxer Cornello, like to be honest, I didn't even know he was Mexican when I was like 5 years old. I was like, wait, what? He's speaking Spanish? Crazy.
What? He could do that?
I remember it was like, I think his fight against Mayweather, I think it was. And I was like, why is that white guy talking in Spanish so perfectly? And Mom was like, oh, he's Mexican. I was like, what? You sure?
Dang.
And yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I know. I was like, wow.
Yeah. And like Filipinos, we were conquered by Spain somewhat like 500 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like before that, if there's still some Filipino people that look like this, or like a lot, there's not some, it's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but like that are like touched by Spain, and then
Somewhere.
they're like a lot darker. They have way curlier hair, and like they have like pretty like different features from like other like the more popular, like average looking Filipino person ish. I don't know how to say it, but like yeah,
The
they
more
look a lot.
common.
Yeah, they look a lot more different, and it's like it's such a wide range, and then you'll see like specifically the women do this. You see a Filipino lady walking down the street, like, and like you in the Philippines, and you'll be like, "Whoa, why is she so pale?" And it's like they're not naturally pale. Like not even like if you don't go out the sun like for forever, they will never be able to get like this pale. But I saw a lady white as paper, and you already know she's been using like skin bleaching soaps.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grandma uses them too.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that she actually used them because she's always been really pale, and I was like, oh, I guess she just naturally looks like that. She doesn't. Yeah, but like, I remember going to a mall that had like a freaking grocery store in it, and I went down a soap aisle, and like the entire actually I think it was both walls. Both of the walls were just skin whitening soaps, like bar soaps. And I was like, whoa. And I was talking to my grandma, and I was like, whoa, really? There's so many, like, skin whitening soaps. And she was like, oh, yeah, this one's really good. I use this one all the time. And I was like, what? You're telling me you're not naturally pale? I thought you were just naturally pale this whole time.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I didn't know. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Like, my whole perception has changed.
Dude.
I was like, because I was like, oh, yeah, I'm tan because I go out in the sun.
No.
And, like, my grandma stays inside all the time. No? Nope. She cheated.
She cheated.
She cheated. Yo, she's not naturally pale. Yeah, it's such a crazy, like, it's like it messes up people's skin, and like
their health probably.
I do not like the skin whitening thing.
I don't unless it's like necessary, I guess. But like
what do you mean necessary?
Because like
when people have like dark patches.
Yeah.
Like
because
just
then,
like
kind of what Michael Jackson did.
He
went too far. He went too far.
I thought he just had a really severe case of vitiligo.
No, that's how it started, I believe, and then I think he had. I can't remember if it was. Maybe it was just it got severe, but like I thought he like kind of ended up because he didn't like it being patchy, so he kind of had it all be consistent, but under like his legs and like his under his shirt. It was more patchy. Like, it was, like, more his natural color, too.
Oh.
Like,
I thought
it was
just so severe. I remember seeing something. I was like, oh, he's always had, like, vitiligo, and he just put makeup on to, like, cover it. Mm-hmm. But it got to the point where he was, like, mostly white, so he just let it out or something like that. I guess it makes sense, though, because we haven't seen him with, like, as many, like, skin, the patterns.
Yeah. Because, like, I just know, like, he had to do... I think he did have to do something, like... He wanted to do something extra for the areas that you could see. Because he covered up a lot. Like, he always covered up. So, those were the areas that he didn't have. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but, yeah. It's so sad that, like, he had to do that. And, like, I like beauty standards in general. Like, I hate them.
Me too. It's, like... That's the one thing I remember just growing up as a kid. It just in school I'm like, oh, those are the pretty girls. Never gonna be that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Or like, I'll look in the mirror and I'll see Shay Mitchell specifically, and I'll be like, I hope I look like that when I'm older, when I'm 18. Oh. I was like 4, and I'll be, I wish I look like that when I'm 18. Yeah. Cause she was in Pretty Little Liars. Or, like, I think I was around 4. Maybe I was, like, a little older.
Yeah.
But, like, and then, first of all, I do not. I do not, like, at all. I do not look like Shay Mitchell. I wish I did.
You know,
like, yeah.
I just remembered my mom telling me this story about my sister. My sister was probably, like, 8 or something. And my mom told me she walked into the bathroom because my sister was just in the tub. And my mom walks in, and, like, she just sees my sister scrubbing her like skin off pretty much, and like my mom was like, what are you trying to do? And she's like, oh, I'm trying to get the dirt off of me.
No.
Yeah, she's like, I want to get as white as the other girls or something like that. And I was like, so my mom had to explain to her.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that until now. I was like,
that's so sad. No. No, did she, like, change her mind about that?
Yeah.
I hope she did.
She got out of the bath. But, yeah, it's, like, I just remember, I was like, oh, my God. My sister, she was, like, 8, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, I had like a kind of similar experience. I didn't scrub my skin off, but I was shaving my legs and my arm hairs in the tub, and my mom found me, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm shaving my legs and my arm. I'm shaving because I want to be pretty like the other girls." And then she was like, "Oh, you're too young to do that." And then she just took it away. I don't even think she said like, "Oh, you're beautiful." She was just like, "Oh yeah, don't do that." So now I have like yeah, and she was like, "Oh yeah, if you do that, it's gonna grow back darker."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Really?"
You're like, fuck.
Yeah, and low key, I think it did. Honestly, it grew back a lot darker, and then it just stayed that way.
Yeah, I remember getting told that as a little, like, growing up. It's like, oh, that's why I never shaved my arms, because I'm like, they look hairy enough. So I'm like, oh.
And then there's like this thing where it's like, oh, that's a myth. It doesn't grow back darker. To be honest, I think it does.
Slightly?
Because, like, shaving's not the best method, you know? And, like, I think it does grow back, because they're like, oh, it's just, like, the blunt hairs, and, like, it's just, but I'm like, it does grow back a little thicker. Like, before it was like, skinny, and now it's, like, a thick.
It's, like, thicker than before. Yeah, I think that's the one thing I wish. Like, I wish that we had to realize this more once we got to college, because I'm like, it really hurts.
Yeah.
It really hurts.
No one told us that we were, like, beautiful as much.
And, like,
if it was, like, a family member, you're like, you were lying because I look like you. You have to say that.
Yeah. Well, it's just, like, being here is, like, we're getting watched, or, like, we don't feel, we're, like, outsiders coming in.
And, like, we're ugly until we get fetishized. Yeah, because literally there's, like, this guy, he was, like, there's a weird thing, like, some guys do, where it's, like, oh, I love Asian girls. I have a thing for Asian girls. Weird. That's so weird. Don't say that. Don't say that. What the heck? Like, it's okay to have preferences, but it's weird when you're like, oh, this is my Asian wife or my Asian girlfriend. And it's like, she's Asian. She makes me rice all the time. Weirdo.
Yeah.
Weirdo. The heck?
Ugh.
Or, like, yeah, well, like, back to that guy. I, like, went on a date with him, and then he was like, yeah, it's really nice having my own, like, anime girl. And I was like, what? And that's when I stopped wearing skirts.
Good.
I had too many bad experiences here with skirts.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Like,
always skirts.
It's skirts. Stop. And I'm so glad I only have skirts that have, like, shorts connected to it. Like, yeah. Because, like, I can't imagine not having, like, regular skirts. Like, a regular, like, just a tube. That's, God.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And, like, me wearing a skirt is not an invitation for you to be, like,
Asian.
yeah, like, oh, woman, easy access. No! And, like, and he was like, oh, yeah, you're, like, an anime schoolgirl, because I was wearing, like a plaid skirt, and I was like, what? Because it was in at that point to, like, wear, like, plaid skirts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be on trend.
Oh.
Nope, pants only from now on, actually. Oh, the TikTok sound. From now on, there's going to be long pants around the house.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Oh,
And, like, even wearing shorts is kind of, like, risque.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this summer I went to Dave & Buster's with my judo friends. I do judo, by the way. Black belt club. Anyways. Yeah. And I was with my, like, little brother, and we were, like, by a thing, and, like, I dropped a coin or something. I went down to pick it up, and he was like, hey, don't do that. Some guys looked at you while you were bending over. And I was like, man.
Thanks, but
I'm not even safe in short pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
Like, stop looking at my body. If I didn't give you permission, don't look.
Yeah.
Do not.
Legit. Oh, don't get me started with the dress code stuff.
Oh, dress codes. I freaking hate dress codes. I went to a Catholic school from, like, K to 8, and I had to wear, like, skirts and jumpers.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, wearing a skirt in, like, 60-degree weather.
Ooh.
Okay, 60 degrees doesn't seem cold now because we live in Oregon now.
Oh,
but, like,
yeah.
in California, 60 degrees is a
freezing.
lot. That's
freezing.
a lot. And, like, wearing a little, like, knee-length skirt. Like, walking around, and, like, the skirt would go up with the wind.
Yeah.
And all the boys would look and be like, ooh, I see your shorts.
I don't think, like, people not from people who are not from California, I don't think they realize how windy it gets in California. Like, it gets dangerously.
In the Bay? Oh, my God.
No, like, the Bay and the Valley, oh, my God. It's, like, tornado, like, speeds almost. Like, we're just, like...
It's going beast mode.
Mm-hmm.
And, like,
there's actually been tornado threats in Sacramento
Valley.
a couple times. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
The funnel clouds forming. I'm like, wait, we're in California.
Oh, no.
What's happening?
Tornadoes, earthquakes,
Lightning, thunderstorms.
tropical storms happen.
Oh.
Gosh. Tropical storms are a lot.
Yeah.
Wearing a uniform during a tropical storm.
Oh, no.
When we had our worst one, our most recent, like, worst one, where we had to, like, actually put sandbags out, I was wearing a uniform
Oh, no.
at that point. So I was wearing a hoodie and, like, a skirt. And, like, first of all, conflicting.
Yeah.
And second of all, I got so wet on those days.
Oh, no. Jeez.
Yeah, and then, like, I hated, like, doing that too, because anything low, if you were taller or, like, you grew and, like, your skirt doesn't fit you anymore, the teachers be like, you are scantily clad. It's so skimpy, and if you bend over, people could see your butt. You need a change. You need to get another uniform skirt. First of all, uniform skirts are expensive as heck.
Yeah.
And, like, I am 12 years old, ma'am. I will not remember this when I get back home.
Yeah.
Tell that to my mom, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not the one buying it, the heck? And you're not the one buying it. Why are you telling me what to do?
People are annoying. Like,
Yeah.
they just make comments when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and, like, did you know that some colleges have, like, dress codes on campus and stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
we do.
Yeah. Wait, we do?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa, I thought we were just following, like, regular laws. We have a dress code?
Technically, I heard some people mention, like, I remember, I think I was in the rec center. I don't know, I was somewhere on campus, and oh, I'm wearing this. It's okay, right? And, like, yeah. Because I think in the rec center, you can't have, like, a certain amount of skin showing. Like, if you have a sports bra on.
Haters.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm not
Haters?
too sure, but yeah, I've heard
Like,
that before.
as long as, like, you know what like, a little hot take? If like, ladies aren't allowed to, like, wear shirts, then I think that men also shouldn't be allowed to wear shirts. So if it's a thing where it's, like, a dude can't take his shirt off in the gym.
Yeah, then...
So if a guy can't do that, then it's whatever. At that point, it's like, okay, it's fair.
Yeah.
But, like, because I haven't seen it yet. You know what? No, I have. People have taken their shirts off to take mirror pics.
Yes.
Yes. I think they put it back on. But, like, yeah. They take their shirts off to take mirror pics.
People are...
I guess there's a little exception for the gram.
Yep. Just a little bit.
There's this one guy on campus who specifically does it. That we know. We don't really know him, but, like,
we can't
know
talk about him. He's...
Don't want to name drop.
Yeah.
Little unfair.
little unfair.
I doubt he's gonna listen to this. If he does, what up? But yeah.
I think we gotta call it a night.
And that wraps up our session today. We'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.